Hey, everybody. Thanks for taking a few minutes to let me talk to you a little bit about generating referrals in your markets from your franchisees. I guess more broadly about growing your market as a DA and how to do that more effectively. Not just sit back and wait on leads to come to you from Homevestors or wherever else, but how to grow it proactively because that's the way it's going to happen that'll be quick as you want it to, because if you sit back and wait, it's probably not going to occur. So I'm going to do two things in this discussion. First one is I just want to have a little bit of a big picture conversation about generating referrals, building markets, talk a little bit why some people have done that better than others. And then I want to get into some specific tools you can use to perhaps do a better job at that. Than you might have done in the past, or if you've done a great job already, then just maybe this will help you expand it a little bit and get some more help from your AFs. So first, big picture. When I joined the business back in 2000, I was lucky that there wasn't a whole lot of franchises, and it was real clear to see the value of growing a business. And I had Ken D'Angelo, the guy who started it all, as my only coach. So actually, that's not true. Bob Ramito was a big coach of mine too. I'll get into that in a second. But when I met Ken, I realized pretty quick that the value of what he had put together was in that ad council he had built in Dallas, because he talked about being on his own and then, building the council and how much better it was for him. And that was the whole reason this thing became a franchise. And so that was real obvious to see. And also, really the only other, there were a few franchises scattered around, but Dallas was really the only council. Bob Ramito had opened a franchise in Kansas City. And he was the only guy in Kansas City. So, and he's actually the way I met Ken and found out about Homevestors was meeting Bob first. And so I could see Bob running his by himself, and the difference between that being alone in Kansas City and this whole group in Dallas. And it was so much, it was obvious how much better it was. Bob really wasn't in a position to be able to generate a lot of referrals because he wasn't living in Kansas City. He was running it there, but he was living in Sarasota. So it was kind of not set up, in a way that helped him generate a lot of business and, frankly, a lot of referrals. And, frankly, it just didn't occur to him to grow the market around him like I think it should have. But, Ken was great at doing that naturally and just talking the talk and being out there and talking about what he was doing. And, it just drew people in. So I could see the value of that. So when I bought my franchise in Atlanta, I asked Ken before I bought it. I said, listen, as part of the as a condition of me buying this franchise, I want you to let me help you build the market around me, because I knew from Dallas, Texas, they just weren't going to be able to do what he did there. And I said, I see the value of that, so let me help do that, because they had their own sales team, but they were in Dallas. And so, it was my understanding that it was critical for my own business to do that. And then I asked him to let me help him. And the reason I was confident, and this is kind of a lucky thing, that my background happened to be franchise development for some other things I'd done. So I was already comfortable talking about a business and, looking for people that might be good for my business. That's what I already knew how to do. So when I bought my franchise, I went right to RIA meetings. I started going out in the community and waving my hand and saying, hey, we've got this way to buy houses. It's better than anything else. And I'll get into my 30-second commercial in a minute. But, I just was out in the community, and it became as much of my daily action plan as buying houses. I mean, Karen and I, my wife at the time, we bought a lot of houses our first year, relatively speaking. I think we bought 22, 23 our first year. So we had a decent business, and we also brought in some franchises. First guy I met that responded to my 30-second commercial and said, yeah, this looks like something I could do, was John Holman. And so when John came in, he asked me, why are you at this RIA meeting doing what you're doing? You don't even have any houses to sell. And, it's obvious that you're just here to talk to people about home investors. And so I made it clear to him why it was important to me to bring other people in the market. So he got that message, and he actually, knew people a lot. We added 10 guys in 4 months, John and I, and 8 more to the council. And, good number of those people were people that he knew, already in his life. And there were people that I met and we knew, and we met at the RIA meeting. And so, we just made it important to us to find those people. And so because we felt that way, they felt that way. And, the council just was off to the races because we all had it in our minds that that was an important part of our business. Not because we needed to do it for Ken or for home investors. Hell, it wasn't even a DA program back then. None of us made any of the franchise fee. We didn't do it for that reason. We were just franchisees. But we knew that it was critical to our own success. And Atlanta, pretty quick became one of the premier councils in the country, and was until 2008. And it had to do with the fundamental perspective people had in the business that we brought in. We just made sure that they understood and they saw it in what we were doing, how important it was. And so I think the first lesson out of that is that you've got to be it yourself. You have to live that this is important in your business. And if you don't understand that, maybe, you need to kind of retool the way you look at your own business. I mean, if you have an active franchise in a business, in whatever town you're in, rather, and you're not making it part of your daily thinking to find more people in, maybe you need to think about how much you really understand the power of growing a council. I mean, if you believe that that's going to be the best for your business, then you're dropping the ball by not doing that for yourself. It's not for home investors, it's for you. Now, granted, being a DA, you're going to make money too, but the critical reason is that building these councils gives you people to buy and sell houses from, to share resources with. And any way you can imagine or think of, it becomes a better business. Now, granted, cost per call is going to go up some, does, because you get into more expensive media. And that's just going to happen. And you got to coach people to understand that, when they're coming in. And if you understand that, then that won't be an impediment, because, of course, you ought to also increase your buy ratios. We're going to start doing a better job. We did a good job for years. I think we've gotten off it a little bit in the sales process of having people have this mindset when they come in that they need to, for their own good, make sure that market grows around them. And they're going to start reinforcing that message in training too. Okay. So first thing is you've got to buy into that idea. The second thing is you got to get your franchisees to buy into that idea, because it's not just you that this is important to. In fact, if your franchisees understand it right, it's not you at all this is for. It's for them. And a lot of people might know that, especially if you've been around for a few years, you might remember we didn't have any franchises in California. In 2012, David Hicks and I came to an agreement that John and I were in Atlanta, that I would move to California and we would take on the responsibility of developing that market on the left coast. And, a lot of people might think, well, gee, you went out there and in 2 years you sold 100 franchises. Well, I didn't sell 100 in 2 years. I sold about 10. And the other those 10 sold the rest of them. That's the way that worked, because I spent a lot of time in my first 8 to 10 months there going to RIA meetings and talking to anybody I could about the business and putting on those few first ones in various markets. The first guy was in San Francisco, believe it or not. Second guy was in Orange County, and then we added some in LA. I opened my own franchise in LA. Just started putting them all over the place. But those franchisees all came in with the same idea I did, because I had them understand that right up front, that you've got to help grow this market. And they took that on. And most of the franchises we added in the next 2 years, and it was about 100, came from referrals from those people. And it wasn't just somebody that called them on a billboard and said, hey, can I join you and do what you do? It wasn't just passive like that. They were actively out there in the community and thinking about people that they knew in their own lives. So let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that intellectually understanding it's a good idea and knowing what to do and how to do it are that's two different things. Okay, so first of all, you've got to have a radar, whether it's you or your franchisees. You've got to have a radar for thinking. It's just got to be in the back of your mind, in the back of your head all the time, that you're looking for people that might be good in an ad council. And so your antenna's up, because we all know the kind of people that are going to be good in this business, right? I mean, it's folks like us, and we have them around us all the time. We just don't think about the fact that they might be somebody that would be good in the business. So first thing, you got to be thinking about it. Okay, you got to coach your franchisees, and you've got to enforce in ad council meetings. Hey, are you guys thinking about this? Is this part of your daily activity to think about people that might be interested in the business or be good in the business? If you're not thinking about it, they're going to pass you right by. But if you are, you might be thinking, oh, that guy, that girl, oh, that couple, oh, they would be great, That's the first thing, is you got to be thinking about it. Secondly, you really need to have, you got to have a quick 30-second commercial or just a comfortable way to introduce the topic. So if you're talking to someone, and the way you would introduce it would be different depending on how well you know them, the context within which you know them, whether it's a real estate person or not, or your neighbor or whoever it is. I mean, that's just going to predicate the details of this. But in general, the first thing you want to do is you want to just ask them if they're interested in the conversation at all. It's like, by the way, do you know what I do for a living, right? I buy and sell houses, or buying wholesale houses, or buying red houses, or whatever your thing is, I don't know. Maybe you didn't know that was a franchise. Did you know that? I mean, you've seen We Buy Ugly Houses. Did you know that I'm part of an organization and we, all do this together? So it's conversational, Yeah, maybe they say, yeah, I know, or no, I didn't know. Well, yeah, it is a franchise. And, here, let me tell you why we joined it, why I'm part of it. It's because Homevestors does for me two things that I couldn't do very well on myself. The first one is they make the phone ring all the time from sellers, people that need to sell their houses quickly at a discount. I get calls from those folks all the time. And the second thing is they set me up with money, financing to buy houses and to fix them. And without the leads of people to sell their houses to me, without the money, I wouldn't be able to do the business. So, the company does those things for me, and plus I'm part of a bigger group, and we network and we trade things, and it's just a better business with a group than it would be if I were by myself. So, we need some more folks in our group. I mean, if you're interested in talking about it, I can set you up, have somebody send you a webinar you can look at, and learn more detail. Get their name, get their email address if they say they're interested, and then send that to Karen Hughes or April Neely. And all you got to do at that point is tell Karen or April whether they just want a webinar to watch or whether they're really interested and, they want somebody to call. Okay, and you just pop it in an email. Say, here's somebody, this is, this is Rob Sturrock, and I'm sending you, John Doe, and John's phone number is this, and his email's this, and he's not really hot on it right now, but he'd like to watch a webinar. Send him the webinar, okay? Or, man, he's really interested in what I do. In fact, he asked me about it, so why don't you go ahead and set him up with somebody to call him and get him an FTD, get him some real information. I mean, whichever of those is. This is the kind of thing that we're going to teach your AFs to do too. Now, I'm going to make another video, one that you can send to your, it'll be a lot shorter than this one you can send to your AFs that'll coach them a little bit on how to think about it themselves and how to get referrals in, okay? It's just got to be important. When you're talking to your AFs about it, of course there's the referral, there's the $4,000 ad credit, that's a real reason to generate referrals, but more importantly, it's good for their businesses. If you look at the top performers in our franchise, very, very few of them are in small markets where there aren't other franchisees. Almost all of them are in developed markets. If you look at our performance metrics, the best performance metrics are in developed markets. If you want to be in a position to where you can buy a lot of houses that you don't have to spend your own ad dollars for, then get other people around that you can buy from wholesale. I mean, some of y'all might know that Tony and I with our Florida franchise and Jacob and I with Texas, we got some awards for a lot of volume this year. We bought 75% of those houses from other franchisees and people we met from other franchisees. Yeah, we advertised and bought some of our on our own, but we bought a bunch from other people. I mean, that's so much easier to do if you've got people in your market, you know? So there are compelling reasons for people to bring in. You just got to let them know that, you know? We, in California, we didn't let our franchisees forget how important that was. And I'll tell you, other people have gotten that message too. You know, this past year, and by the way, in California, franchisees out there still send out. The California franchisees were the second most productive group in the country sending in referrals in 2020. Guess who number one was? It was the Cornerstone Group. It's not always been that way with those guys. Okay, a few years ago, they didn't have get that many referrals out of their franchisees, but they got this message and they started coaching their new franchisees and even the old ones on the importance of referrals. And over time, it worked. And now they produced more referrals in their group than anybody else. You know, so you can teach your people this. You can learn this yourself. You just got to make it important to you to do it. When I'm in an ad council meeting, I don't miss an opportunity to ask people where are the referrals. Not for me. Don't ask with your hat in your hand, like they're doing you a favor, sending referrals in for you, like the franchisees are doing that. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to send Mark some referrals. Oh, I got to do that for Mark. No, that's not the message. The message is, why aren't you sending referrals into me for your business? Your advertising, why aren't you doing that too? That's as important. Where are they? You know, you could even set up some action items for your people. The average person, the average conversion rate for across the board in Home Misters is 1 in 50. You give me 50 just random leads, I'm going to sell a franchise. With referrals, it's 1 out of 7. Now that's a lot better, right? Couple reasons. One, referrals tend to be people that we already know intellectually are going to fit the business. That's why people send them in for referrals. Two, they're already comfortable with us. They know somebody. You know, it just makes a big difference in credibility. So 1 in 7 is a good, it's a good ratio. You want to add 10 guys to your network this coming year? You need 70 referrals. How many is that? That's 6. That's just 6 a month. Come on. That's 1 a week. 2 a week. My math's bad sometimes. Okay, 2 a week. I mean, you ought to get 2 a week from one franchisee you have, not for your whole organization. Okay? So think about it. It's not, you just got to get the action plans going. So if you want to do 7 next year or 10 next year, get 70 referrals in the door. That's 6 a month. 12 times 6 is 72, right? 2 a week, not even 2 a week, 1.5 a week. Tell your franchisees at every ad council meeting, you're keeping up. You're gonna, you want them to bring a certain number to you. Tell each franchisee, give them all a quota, and tell them you're not giving them that quota for you. You're giving them that quota to get them interested in creating things, muscle memory for themselves that will benefit their own business. That's our job, right? We're supposed to teach franchisees how to succeed. There ain't nothing other than teaching them how to advertise and buy houses more effectively that'll make them succeed more than teaching them how to get referrals in. So they got to have a 30-second commercial. We talked about it a minute ago. I'm going to send you one in writing too, so you can pass that out. I got a video I'm going to send your franchisees. And we're also going to send them some videos of some other franchisees who've already generated a bunch of referrals, basically how they did it, and also what that's meant to them. And I'm going to have some of the other DAs talk a little bit about it too. So let me look here and see whether I'm missing anything I want to talk about. Oh yeah. You guys might know that, and you may or may not know, but Charlie and Advestors, they put together a program where they're trying to target markets for us to generate more franchise sales for us in particular places proactively. In other words, here's a market, we want to hit that market, we want to generate a bunch of leads, and they're doing it at Advestors. They've never before tried to generate any leads for us like they do seller leads for the franchisees. And so they're doing that right now. They're testing this where, we're right in the middle of figuring out whether it works or not and tracking the leads and seeing how they perform. And, we'll keep everybody posted on that. But we're going to, I'm going to put together some collateral material. I'm going to have the Advestors folks do it that you can use and you can send to franchisees to use to send out to their LinkedIn groups. Okay, it's just going to be some basic printed advertising type material. When I say printed, I don't necessarily mean on paper, but something that you can post online that's static, not a video, that will mirror the things that we're sending out to people in markets through Advestors. It's going to be the same kind of look, same kind of message. I'm also going to make a video that anybody can send their candidates. I mentioned a minute ago, I'm going to put a video together for your franchisees to explain why they need to generate referrals. But this is going to be a video they can send out to people in their network, in their database, just saying, hey, why Homevestors? Why would I want to be part of that company? And so it's going to be just a promo video, short, 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes maybe, about why anybody would want to be part of this franchise. So those are some collateral materials we're going to be getting out to you here in the next just 2 or 3 days, few days. I want to go back to this daily action plan for a minute. It really boils down to that, guys. We convert a lot of referrals, okay, out of the leads that come in. Like I said, you don't need to generate a bunch of referrals. If you want to sell 10, you only need 6 a month. That's just not a whole lot. If you could put an action plan together that brings in referrals all the time, you'll see how fast it can grow. I mean, people might say, my God, how did you sell 10 franchises in Atlanta in, 4 months? Well, if you think about it, but actually 8 in 4 months, because John and I were the first 2 and we were right away. So 8 in 4 months, that's 2 a month, right? I only had to bring in 14 referrals to do those 2. I mean, that's not a whole lot in a whole month, right? Every other day, I had to talk to somebody about the business, and this was, what else did I have to do? I mean, I didn't have anybody else in the market with me. We didn't have a ton of buy calls going on. I didn't have a job. I mean, it was like falling off a turnip truck for me to talk to somebody every 2 days. But that's only because I was thinking about it. God, if you just thought about it, that's all you got to do. If you just think about it, just often enough to talk to somebody every other day, you'll add 20 or 30 people in the next year to your group. It's not that much work, folks. It's just a matter of thinking about it. And you got to coach. If you coach your AFs to do the same thing, then you won't have to do it. Because they'll come to you. You'll be so busy talking to the referrals they send you, you won't have time to do it yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me in California. After I got the first few franchises, I spent the rest of my time weeding through the people they sent me because it was just a little machine. And it has never stopped. It's been that way ever since. I stopped completely going out and doing anything in the public after 2013. I moved out there in 2013, I didn't do any of more RIA meetings, any more of that stuff. Didn't have to, because the other franchisees sent in so many referrals. So, guys, just get it off the ground. Get it started, jump start it, and it'll work for you. So, thanks for listening. Any of y'all want to talk to me further about this? Just feel free to call me. Be looking for the collateral materials we're going to send out. Set some action plans for yourself. And if you want somebody to hold you accountable to those, give me a call, give Kevin a call. We'll talk about doing that. Be more than happy to set up some accountability if you think that would help you. So thanks again. Let's get busy.